Somewhere in America this morning, a man walked out to his mailbox. House paid off or real close to it. 22 years at the same address. Never filed a claim. Fixed his own gutters. Knows every soft spot on his own roof because he's the one who's been up there. And in that mailbox, there's a letter. And that letter doesn't come with a knock on the door or a heads-up phone call. It says the company has decided not to renew his homeowner's policy. Sometimes it gives a reason. Sometimes it gives a deadline. Trim that tree. Clean that roof off. Fix that thing he didn't know was broken. 3 weeks or he's on his own. And that man has the same 3 thoughts every man has in the same order. 1. Nobody's been out here. 2. I've never filed a damn claim. 3. How do they know what my roof looks like anyways? Let me tell you how. They scanned your property from the air without telling you, without asking you, and in a growing number of documented cases, without getting it right. Imagine that. Insurance companies are deciding whether to keep covering a house based on images of a property no inspector ever set foot on. This channel is about the paperwork behind the house you already own, the bills that arrive whether you're paid off or not, the fine print that decides things about your property while you're at work, and the equipment in your house that was built to quit long before anything actually wore out. I don't sell anything here. I don't predict crashes here. If I can't source a number, it does not go in my video. Everything on screen tonight is cited, and it's all in the description box. So tonight, how a camera in the sky started canceling insurance policies, the cases where it got the wrong house entirely, what 4 state insurance departments have already said about it, and exactly what you do when that letter ends up in your mailbox. Let's start with how all this actually works, because most men picture a guy in a truck. That guy's not quite gone in most areas, but like with so many things these days, he's on his way out the door. The insurer contracts with an imagery company, fixed wing, aircraft, software, satellites, drones, flying grids over American neighborhoods, photographing roofs by the thousands. Those images get ran through software that scores your house, roof age, roof condition, debris, tree overhang, pools, trampolines, sheds you may or may not have permitted. And that score can decide whether you get a renewal offer. No ladder, no inspector, no conversation. A computer looked at a photograph of your house and made a call about your money. Now, I want to be fair here because we deal in receipts, not grievance. Insurance companies have always inspected properties. That's legitimate. They're on the hook for the house, and they're allowed to know its condition. And an aerial photo genuinely can spot a roof that's finished. Sometimes the picture's right. The problem isn't the camera. The problem is that a photograph taken from 1,000 feet, processed by software with no human being standing on your property, is being treated as final against a man who never got to see the picture, never got told it was being taken, and in some states has no clear way to argue with that. And every homeowner watching already knows exactly how much to trust a computer's opinion of his house, because every one of you has looked your own address up on Zillow. You've seen the numbers. You laughed at the numbers. The algorithm thinks your house is worth 80 grand less than the identical one across the street because it can't see the new roof, the redone kitchen, the 30 years of care. Everybody in America has caught the internet being confidently wrong about their own house. Now take that same confidence, put it in an airplane, and give it the power to cancel your coverage. That's the argument. The insurer gets a photograph. You get a deadline. And when that's the argument, the errors don't get caught before they cost somebody. They get caught afterwards. Now, before we get to the worst of it, pause with me for a minute. I want to be straight with you about something because straight is the whole point of this new channel. If you click around after this video started, you'll notice there's not much going on here yet. This is a new channel. It is not my first. I've built channels before, and I know exactly what I'm doing here. And I'll tell you who's talking to you. A man who spent his working life in the trades. I've been on the roofs. I've worked through insurance policies by the hundreds, actually. Mine as a salesman, my customers, my crews. I'm not reading research to you. I lived the paperwork. There's no AI voice here, no avatar, a real man on camera. And again, every claim sourced in the description under every video. That's the standard rule here, moving forward, forever. So, if this is useful to you, subscribe. That's the whole ask. And if you're not sure yet, fair enough. I haven't earned it yet. Watch a couple more. I'll earn it eventually. And since I just told you who I am, let me tell you what I've seen, because I've been on both sides of this camera. I managed a roofing company for about 3 years, and I remember one job in particular, a big Catholic school and church property, middle of Des Moines, Iowa. Huge roofs, multiple buildings. We pulled a full drone report on it. State-of-the-art outfit, all the software, all the bells and whistles, pages of nonsense. Beautiful document. Every facet of that roof was measured and graded. Then the insurance company sent their adjuster out, the inspection. She didn't have our report, hadn't seen it. Hell, she hadn't even heard about it. Nobody on their side even acknowledged that that report existed. And in 3 years of roofing, I never once had an insurance company accept one of ours. And look, I get it. We were the roofer. We definitely had a dog in that fight for sure. But hold that thought against everything I'm about to show you, because when the drone works for you, it's not evidence. When the drone works for them, it's final. Same sky, same cameras, one-way mirror. Now let me show you the wrong house. Let's talk about the errors, not the hypothetical ones, documented ones. Read the top line there, the wrong house. A Texas insurer made a decision about a family's coverage using photographs of somebody else's property. And that policy only got renewed after the state had to step in. Not after the company caught its own mistake, after the state made a phone call. Then it gets almost comical. The consumer advocate who tracks this, Amy Batch at United Policyholders, has described the software flagging a skylight as damaged roofing. Solar panels read as structural problems. A man puts panels on his own roof, spends his hard-earned money, does the responsible thing, and the machine sees a defect. Moss, debris in the yard, a pool that happened to be drained the day the plane went over. A drained pool. That's not a hazard. That's a Tuesday. And here's the part that ought to bother you most. Whatever your roof looks like. In Massachusetts, a woman told a television news team she had weeks to trim her trees or lose her coverage from a photo of her home she never knew anybody took. She said the same word most people say when they find out. Invasive. She's not describing a claim dispute, folks. She's describing finding out a stranger photographed her home, graded it, and mailed her an ultimatum. And the trend behind all this isn't small. In Texas, the rate at which insurers chose not to renew homeowners policies nearly doubled between 2020 and 2023. That's the environment these photos are landing in right now. Now, if a man tells you at a diner that insurance companies are flying drones over his house and canceling him off the pictures, half the table thinks he's exaggerating. Well, he isn't. And you don't have to take his word or mine, because state insurance departments, the agencies whose entire job is regulating these companies, have been putting it in writing. Pennsylvania told insurers directly that aerial imagery is not sufficient evidence to cancel or refuse to renew a policy. After complaints where the pictures showed streaking and discoloration, not damage, stains, the commissioner allowed that innovation is fine, but said, quote, it needs to be reasonable. Connecticut warned companies they can't use cosmetic roof conditions. Same story. Streaking, discoloration, as grounds to refuse renewal. So Massachusetts put out guidance laying out what rights homeowners actually have when aerial imagery gets used on them. And California's insurance commissioner said his department investigated numerous complaints where flawed aerial imagery led to policies being wrongfully dropped. His words were erroneous data. So we have 4 states, 4 different administrations, all arriving at pretty much the same conclusion at roughly the same time. And the legislatures are also making moves. Louisiana passed a law that says if an insurer is going to cancel or non-renew you off of an aerial image, that image has to have been taken within the last 24 months. Now, sit with why that law has to exist in the first place. Somebody was making decisions about a man's house using a photograph of it from years, plural, earlier. A roof he may have already replaced. Anyways, California's legislature has moved on a bill requiring insurers to tell you the pictures are being taken, hand them over when you ask for them, and limit what they can do with them. Notification, access, limits. That's the entire ask now, isn't it? And it takes a bill, of course, to get that accomplished. Here's a fair question. Why now? Why did a 100-year-old industry suddenly start flying cameras over your house? 2 honest answers, and I'll give the companies both of them. 1, the cost of paying claims went up big time. Rebuilding a house costs what it costs now. Storms have gotten very expensive, and companies that guessed wrong on risk lost real money, and a lot of it. That's not a conspiracy. That's just arithmetic, right? 2, aerial imagery is cheap, and inspector costs a couple $100 and probably a half a day's time. A photograph from a plane costs a few $100s and covers probably a whole neighborhood in one pass. When a company can grab 50,000 roofs for the price of inspecting 500, it will every time. So I'm not going to stand here and tell you a business chasing efficiency is a criminal enterprise. That's the Doom Channel's job. And Doom Channels get things wrong on purpose. Here's the actual objection. It's narrower and it's harder to argue with. When they replaced the inspector with a camera, they kept every bit of the power and they quietly deleted your side of the process. The inspector was a person. You could meet him at your driveway, point at the new shingles, say, that stains from the neighbor's oak. It's been there for 12 years. The deck underneath, it's solid. You can't say that to an airplane. They didn't just automate the inspector. They automated you out of the conversation and then mailed you a deadline as if you'd been part of it. That's the whole thing. Not the camera, the missing chair. So here's what a man does when that envelope lands. Write this down or just come back to it in the description box. 1, ask for the image in writing. Ask what they saw when the photograph was taken and what specific defect they're citing. In some states, they have to hand it over. In all of them, asking creates a paper trail. And ask the date. Remember, Louisiana had to legislate that photos be from the last 2 years. If they're grading you off an old picture, That's your whole case, right? 2, document your own roof. Get up there or pay someone who will and photograph it with a date. A written statement from a licensed roofer that the roof is sound is a real document. The airplane doesn't have one of those. 3, know what cosmetic means. 2 state departments have now told insurers that streaking and discoloration are not damage. If your notice cites something that's a stain rather than a failure, you're standing on ground the regulators have already staked out. 4, ask for reinspection. Say the word specifically you want a human being on the property. 5, file a complaint. Every state has an insurance department, and the complaint is free. Every case in tonight's video came to light because somebody complained. The Texas family got renewed because the state got involved. Those bulletins in Pennsylvania and Connecticut, they exist because homeowners filed. That's not paperwork, folks. That's how the rules got written. And 6, shop it before they drop it. A non-renewal on your record makes the next policy harder to get. If a company's signaling to you that they are on their way out, start finding your next one while you're still covered. Now the part I actually want you to keep. You bought the house. Maybe you're finishing paying for it. Maybe you're still at it. Either way, there's a photo of it in a file somewhere, taken from the air, created by a software that you never agreed to and never saw. You're allowed to ask to see it. You're allowed to say it's wrong. You're allowed to make a company that takes a picture of your roof from 1,000 feet come stand in your driveway and look at it like a person. They're counting on you not asking. That's the business model. The letter's written to sound final. It's not final. It's an opening offer. Get up there, take your own pictures, keep your own receipts, make them show you theirs. And before you go, roll call in the comments. Has an insurer ever cited something at your place they couldn't have seen from the ground? What state are you in? And what did they claim? I read every damn one of them. And the pile of answers under this video is how the next man finds out he's not crazy and he's not alone. I'm the Yeoman, and I'll see you in the next one.